Warning, due to some language and subject matter, listener discretion is advised.
The calendar has finally turned, and we are now nestled comfortably in the first month of 2021. After the tumultuous events of the last year, many are searching for beacons of hope as they renew promises to themselves for a better tomorrow. The chief catalyst in all of this is one simple word: attitude. The choice of how you plan to approach every day, every person, or every circumstance. Joining me on the podcast today is a professional speaker, coach, trainer, collegiate athlete, great guy, and all-around expert on attitude, my friend Aaron Davis. And he's ready to empower you for a better tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Caught on the Mic. Aaron Davis, thank you for joining me on the podcast today. How the heck are you?
Mike, I'm doing great, man. It's a pleasure to be here, man. I'm truly honored, brother. Thank you.
Oh, man, I think we kind of crossed paths through social media. You've been liking my stuff. I've been liking your stuff. And I kind of went down the attitude expert rabbit hole. And I was super excited to reach out to you to be on the podcast. So without any further ado, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and what you do?
You bet. Mike, again, man, thank you. It's a privilege and a blessing to be on the show, man. To all your listeners, thank you for tuning in. I had a chance to kind of go over some of Mike's podcasts, and he's got some great stuff on there. So definitely don't be a stranger, and give it that 5-star rating to keep and share it with your friends as well. But Mike, again, my name is Aaron Davis, and I was born and raised here in Lincoln, and went to the University of Nebraska here. I got my degree here, met my wife here, and I was in corporate America for a while, man. But I've always kind of been intrigued about the kind of the difference maker, what makes people, some people perform better than others. And obviously there's a lot of factors there. But I always say attitude is the only thing, but it's the main thing, you know. So that kind of led me down this lifelong journey of learning more about attitude and how it separates those who succeed compared to those who kind of fall short at times, you know, and whatever success means to them as far as that goes.
Right.
And so now that's what I do, man. I did travel prior to COVID.
I think we all tried before this.
Now my travel consists of the post office box, but even that's traveling. But still able to do these Zoom calls, virtual presentations for companies, organizations, and people in the education sector on the importance of attitude.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Like the technology industry kind of knew that something like this could happen, didn't they?
You know, they did. I don't think anyone thought on this scale, on this magnitude.
Right.
But I tell you what, though, as much as I can find myself aching and moaning about Zooms at times, think about if we didn't have it, man.
Oh, I know it. I know it. Like I've, on several episodes of the podcast, I've talked about how 2020 was kind of the year where we had to ground ourselves just for the purpose of reconnecting, even if it meant figuring out new ways to connect with people, reconnect with people. And so this is a pleasure. Again, I want to extend how much this means to me that you're doing this. So you were born and raised here in Lincoln?
I was born and raised here in Lincoln, and my parents moved to Nebraska in 1963 from Pittsburgh. Hence why I'm a huge Steelers fan. And let's not talk about that game against Cleveland. But I'm a diehard Steelers. But my parents moved here in 63 from Pittsburgh. I'm the youngest out of 6 kids, 4 boys, 2 girls. And I just stayed here after college, man. I love Lincoln. I love the quality of life. I love the people. And you can pretty much get anywhere in the country pretty quick as far as that goes, being slap dab in the central the middle of the U.S. But I love Lincoln, man. I really do. I love Nebraska.
So you are also an athlete. Let's talk about your time doing that.
Well, basically, Mike, the only difference between me and you playing for Nebraska is I had a helmet. That was about it.
I heard you explain it one time, the 30-30.
That's right, 30-30 rule, man.
Tell our listeners what that is.
Well, you know, I always said I got in the games, and I played in the early 90s with members of championship teams. It was a lot of fun.
Right.
But I always say I got into 30-30 rule, meaning we were up 30 points, 30 seconds left. Coach Osborne wouldn't let me play. So, but it was a lot of fun though, man. It was a lot of fun.
So now you're coaching people and organizations on attitude. Who are some of your mentors coming up and coming out of college?
You know, my father, number one. My dad, Mike, is my hero, man. And my pops is 79 years old and didn't come from hardly anything when he moved here. It was a janitor for 40 plus years, but also a pastor of a little small church here in Lincoln. And just seeing his attitude, regardless of what he was going through, his steadfastness, and just the way he treated people. But it was his attitude that separated him. And in it being an MLK day to day, just celebrating his life and legacy. My father, when I think of, there was a saying that Martin Luther King said, if your job finds you to sweep a floor, be the best floor sweeper, be the best street sweeper. And every floor that my dad waxed and mopped, and every bathroom he cleaned, he would always tell us is on that sink. Every job you do, your name is on it. So do it right and do it to the best of your ability. So that's always stuck with me. So my father being the most influential person in my life, when I got to Nebraska, Coach Osborne was another father figure to all of us, whether we had a dad at home or not. Coach Osborne, Coach Ron Brown was another one of those guys. As I've gotten older in the business world, a good friend of mine, Boyd Ober, has a company here in town called Leadership Resources, been a great mentor. Anthony Goggins is a huge mentor for me today. He's the Director of Economic Development for the state of Nebraska now. My father-in-law, Jeff Beatty, has been a great one. And my older brother, Mark, and my older brother, Daniel, those guys have been great mentors for me. For the sake of time, I can go on and on, but those guys right there have been huge, influential people in my life, man.
Iron sharpens iron. Like
yes.
If you keep that circle tight and you not only gain inspiration from the people that surround you, but you use that same inspiration to inspire other people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just on the conversations,
right?
Mike, you get this when you're going to be talking with other guests or guys and girls in your peer group. And it goes to what you said. It's the epitome of iron sharpening iron,
Absolutely. So how did you get into public speaking?
I did a stint with some youth organizations first. There was one called Campus Life. I worked for them for a while. And then I went into corporate America. I started doing sales with the Dale Carnegie Corporation. And then I went back to university to work for the university, but to work on my master's. So I worked there in the multicultural affairs department. But the speaking kept growing in that Coach Osborne opened up a lot of doors for me. And to come and speak, I'm like, what am I going to speak about? Like when you were part of a national championship team, talk about what it takes to play for a national championship team, the experiences, et cetera. And it really started with just remembering my dad always talking about the importance of attitude. Well, those Nebraska football teams back in that era, I mean, we had a certain attitude, a certain swagger in the way that we did things because Coach Osborne instilled in us, the way you do some things is how you do everything.
Right.
How you lift weights, how you practice, how you prepare, et cetera. And so I started sharing that message with like middle school students and high school students. Then it went to college students. And one of my other mentors, Max Callen, he used to be with a company here in town called Smith Hayes. And he says, why don't you speak about the corporations? At this time, Mike, I'm like 23. I'm like, what are they going to listen to me about? I'm a college kid, basically. I just graduated. And he goes, the importance of working together as a team and the importance of attitude and creating championship cultures. And so that was, actually over 20 years ago now. And so I've been speaking with companies since then and college teams about the importance of attitude and how that must permeate every part of your culture. And regardless if you're a company of 5,000 or an entrepreneur, a mom, a dad, a college student, or just professional, busting your tail off in the workplace every day. Attitude is not the only thing, but it's the main thing.
Right. Absolutely.
So I always stress the importance of that in all my talks, man. And that's how the genesis of my speaking came. This Coach Osborne asked me to speak at an event. I said, I agreed to do it. And I loved it. And I'm still nervous as heck before every talk, man, before everyone.
I get that. I played music semi-professionally for 15 years. I mean, I lose track of time and I still got cold feet before every single show. And the funny thing is it wasn't the large groups of people that spooked me. It was the small ones. It was the real small ones that kind of creeped me out more.
Yes.
I don't know what the psychology is with that, but it seemed like the more people were in the room, the more I could turn my volume up.
I like how you said that. And because Michael, the smaller groups, it's more intimate. They're right there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So where even as a speaker, you can get lost with the amount of people in there. So you can kind of divide it up over here, over there. You don't feel as naked if you would on the stage. You get 5 people right there, man. I mean, they could see if you got, food on your mouth. So it's a lot more nerve-wracking, man.
Yep. What's something that people don't know about you that they would be surprised to find out?
It's
a hard question.
It's a good one though. You know what, Michael? I would say because I'm outgoing, because of what you do and I do. We're around a lot of people all the time, so they would just assume that you're an extrovert.
Right.
I am a very introverted extrovert. I have no problems being by myself for long periods of time.
Yeah.
Not necessarily COVID time, this amount of time, but
Right.
But I don't, and people often get surprised when they learn that. I don't have to be around a lot of people. I am very comfortable being alone. I'm very comfortable being alone.
In the same exact way. I'm the same exact way. I totally get that. So what would you say professionally and personally, what is your greatest accomplishment so far in life?
I would say personally, just me and my wife and our kids. We have 2 college-age sons. Aiden is a senior at the University of Nebraska. He'll be heading to law school in the fall. Keenan is our middle son. Keenan is a junior at the University of Nebraska. Very gifted artist, just as far as drawing and creative. Our daughter Naya is a junior in high school. Just a sharp girl, very good writer, cheer, very good singer. I would say my wife and I both would say our kids. I mean, the personal accomplishment, it would be our kids and just trying to raise them the best we can. Obviously not perfect parents by any stretch of the imagination. They'll tell you that.
None of us are.
Yeah. Those are the biggest, I would say. Professionally, it's not the plaques and the accolades, Mike. I know you get that.
Right.
In fact, it's downstairs. It's I got a pile of letters from an organization I spoke for out in California virtually. They've been going through a lot out there. The forest fires they had out there, the obviously COVID. When you get those letters and emails and notes from people that said something, what you said helped me in this specific time in my life, or this helped me, this just changed my life. You hear that a lot, and sometimes you hear it, but especially now as we go through COVID, people are hurting, man.
Right.
And so if you can spread some encouragement and hope and light like you do with your podcast, every time that you put one out there, that's what people need. So I would say my biggest professional accomplishment, hopefully that keeps going on, knowing that I was able to help someone and didn't even know it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Their mental state, or a place they were in their life at the time, and just knowing that that God allowed me to say something that hopefully inspired and helped them, man. So the accolades, the plaques, man, that's, me and you both know that stuff doesn't mean anything. It'll rot and it'll go away. But when you can impact someone's heart and their mind, those are the things that matter the most to me personally, man.
That's awesome, because that was a loaded question, because I knew you were going to answer with your kids. And the thing is you go back to people that you look at as your mentors. You talk about your father and Coach Osborne and your brothers, and that changes throughout life. And whenever that moment when you become a father, your why in life changes real quick.
Absolutely.
So your sense of purpose changes real fast, right?
Yes, absolutely.
That's exactly where I was going with that, because how has Aaron Davis changed from before children and then after children?
I would say before children, you really don't think, you think long term, but there's nobody's life really impacted by yours. Like directly that you're responsible for. I would say that the key thing I would say is responsibility.
Right.
And knowing the huge responsibility it comes with, because they're watching you. My kids have watched me fail. They've watched me succeed. They've watched me be happy. They've watched me be depressed. They've seen it all. And they're a chalkboard that you're writing on the hearts of their minds and their hearts and minds. And so you got to be careful what you put up there. But as a teacher, as in life too, they also can see when you can get back up too. So that's there as well. So I would say that before the responsibility was just you, and if you were married, your spouse. You have kids, man, it changes everything. It changes everything. In that you really, all that you do is for them.
Yeah.
You want them to succeed. You want them to learn. You want to be successful at what they do. So you really. You put your needs aside for the most part at times to make sure their needs are taken care of.
Right. So with that in mind, Leadership. Is leadership something that you're born with, or is it something that becomes nurtured over time?
I think some people may have more of a personality propensity for leadership.
Absolutely.
But it's definitely something that you develop over time.
Yeah.
Because it goes back into nature versus nurture,
right?
Argument, and I think some people are born with a certain set of skills that allows them to be better leaders than others. But also, you look at a truly great leader. I look at my dad as a father, but I also look at Coach Osborne as a coach.
Right.
Coach Osborne was constantly learning. He was constantly figuring out how he could improve at what he did. I was constantly getting to know his team, those people he led, even better. And the great thing about leadership, and I've always believed this, leadership, great leaders show you. They don't tell you. They show you. They roll their sleeves up and they say, hey, let's do this. Not you do, let's do this. And they inspire you.
Yep.
You think about great leaders, Mike. They just inspire you to want to do more.
Right.
They inspire you to want to be better. They inspire you to want to grow.
Right.
And great leaders all have that attribute, but they've nurtured it and they've grew it and they've fostered it and cultivated it over a period of time.
Right. And that's just it. I talk about, before I had kids, I was an okay leader. I was okay. And then after having children, I feel like I developed that leadership skill, but it was something that was always within me. It was just kind of figuring out what it took to unlock that potential and like live up to that potential.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I've got an anecdote in regards to that. When I take on a new team, and I actually posted a video about this the other day, when I take on a new team, usually within day 1 or day 2, I will find the hardest task around my new team and I will do it myself.
Yes.
I will make sure my team knows that I'm doing it, not because I'm trying to plead this woe is me. Hey, I'm doing the hardest thing here, but it becomes easier to delegate that task later on down the line because you've earned the trust of your team. They know that you're not going to ask them to do something that you're not willing to do yourself.
There you go.
So
there you go.
That's awesome. Man, you and I are like cut from the same cloth, man.
And you know what though, Mike? When their team sees that you do that as leader,
yes,
they will run through a wall for you.
Absolutely.
Because when they see that you put skin in the game, they will run through a wall for you. And that's exactly why we were so cohesive as a unit under Coach Osborne and that entire coaching staff. We knew that they would fight for us and that we've seen them fight for us. And we're like, we don't want to fail them.
Right.
We don't want to fail them because they showed, just like you took that hardest task, we knew that they were fully bought in. And when you got a leader and you see that he or she is fully bought in and they're not just giving you lip service, man, those that are following you, they will go above and beyond to go to war with you. Absolutely.
So kind of changing course, but kind of in the similar path. Let's talk about drive versus motivation. Are those two different things? I
think they sound the same, but motivation comes and goes, in my opinion.
Yes, sir.
You can be motivated to start that new workout routine when you're at home. You're doing it on your laptop. You got a cup of coffee or a cold beverage. You're nice and warm. If it's wintertime, if you're in a place where it's hot outside, you got your AC going. You're motivated then. But what about if you said you're going to start getting up earlier and that alarm clock goes off? Right. See, motivation goes out the window. Drive keeps going, just like it says. Drive means you're driving regardless of what the road conditions are like. Whether it's snowy, whether it's hot, whether it's raining, drive keeps you going. Motivation comes and goes. Motivation, in my opinion, is there's too many things contingent on it. All the variables got to be right. Drive means it doesn't matter what's happening, I'm going to go do it. And the drive is kind of like inspiration in that, well, after the original emotion was there, when you set the goal is gone, drive and inspiration and purpose keep you going.
One of my favorite figures to follow online, I've read his book, I've listened to other books adjacent to his, is David Goggins. Can't hurt me.
Can't hurt me.
Man, there's a line that he said, it's not from the book, but it's a quote that he said online, and it's motivation is crap. Motivation comes and goes. When you're driven, whatever is in front of you will get destroyed.
That's right.
I love it.
Mike, listen, I'm looking at I know exactly where the book is at. It's right downstairs, my sitting room down there.
Right.
I read that book. I devoured it. Okay.
Me too.
I bought it from and I still take notes over it. And I'm sure you too. I bought some copies for my sons in college. They said, "Pops, change the way we are disciplined about our schoolwork, our workouts, the things that we do." I bought a number of copies for friends that have said the same thing, like, wow. So there's times in the morning when I'm getting dressed to go to the gym, and I'll pop on one of his YouTube, just as I'm getting dressed, one of his YouTube, just listening to him talk. And it just cuts through all the crap, man.
Oh yeah.
It cuts through all the crap. I don't need all the motivation stuff in the morning when I don't feel like going to gym. No, I need somebody to hit me between the eyes and say, look, man, it's go time.
Yep.
It's go time. Let's go.
This is like the third or fourth time I've mentioned it on the podcast. I just can't sing the praises enough. But after I finished that book, I was running for about a half an hour a day. That's my normal routine. I work out, I run for a half an hour, then I lift weights for a half an hour, and then I'm good to go for the rest of the day,
Mm-hmm.
But by the time I finish the book, I'm running for 45 minutes, an hour,
I love it.
hour and a half. And then I finished the book and I was just like, well, Goggins doesn't listen to music, so I'm not going to listen to music anymore. So then I started listening to speeches from different people like Dwayne Johnson,
Yes.
different speeches on YouTube. And that's, is there a point where, and I could say this for myself, is there a point where being inspired by somebody like that can be a little bit on the dangerous side of things? I found myself getting a little bit too acclimated to the Goggins lifestyle.
I would say, I don't know if I would say danger. I would say everything in moderation.
Right.
I'll say most things in moderation are good. And he puts that out there a number of times. Disclaimers goes, when you've heard him say, I'm not saying to be like me. He says it quite a few times, but be a better you. And so that's how I kind of look at it with whether it's Goggins, whether it's Ed Milet, any of the big name guys and gals or influencers out there. I just take pieces from it and say, now what part of that applies to my life? What part of my life can I apply that to? Because he's on a different planet, man.
Oh, absolutely.
He's on a different planet.
Absolutely.
Some of the things he's done, I have no desire to even try, like the pull-up record.
Right. I know. I know. It's crazy. It's not just the workout stuff. It's just how I was approaching work. I was starting to get cagey at home, my poor son making his bed 3 and 4 times because it wasn't good enough the first time. I had to reel myself back in, watch some comedies and
right.
watch a little bit of old Chappelle Show reruns and be like, okay, I'm good.
But you know what though? I would rather us and your listeners to earn the caution of being too inspired or disciplined or determined than the lack thereof.
Yes.
Rarely are you going to hurt yourself by trying to improve yourself.
Right.
It'd be different if you were doing something crazy or dangerous. You know, I would rather a person earn, like myself and you and your listeners, earn the side of attempting to really stretch your limits than not doing anything to stretch yourself at all.
Right.
I'd rather much take the latter.
Right. Absolutely. How many people get in their own way?
Oh man, me included, all the time.
Yeah. I'm the same way, and I have
all the time.
Yep. So do you have certain modes of self-accountability? Like, what are your modes of self-accountability?
You know what? My perfect example, when COVID absolutely exploded my calendar in March of 2020, and I saw my business take a major hit. And I sat right here in my home office, and I was mad. I was scared. I was just like, what am I going to do? But Mike, my tale didn't last very long. I mean, like a few hours. I gave myself just some time to grieve it, if you will, because it was a sense of grief because we've all lost a lot. And unfortunately, even to some of your listeners out there, my hearts and prayers go to you because maybe you've been directly impacted by COVID or heaven forbid even lost a loved one.
Right.
So I would be remiss not to mention that. And by no means, I just, those things that have happened to a lot of people. So I sat here and I said, okay, I can either panic or I can pivot.
Right.
So one of those things I use, whether it's just COVID or not, when I'm dealing with a situation, I'm like, okay, how am I going to pivot out of this situation and make the best out of it? And when I did that, I sat down, I listed the things that I could do. I had a list called a can list. Too often we run our lives all the things we can't do. We ache and moan about the things we can't do. And you start thinking about all the things you can't do, there goes your attitude.
Right.
There goes your attitude. Because what you feed and what focus on, you become. So if you don't like the results you're getting, look in your life. What am I feeding? Am I feeding doubt? Am I feeding anger? Am I feeding confusion? Am I feeding maliciousness in this crazy world that we're living in right now? Whatever you feed is going to grow. So if you don't like the crops you're getting, stop planting that seed then, you know? So I had to do that. And one of the third things I did right there, Michael, too, is I set up mental guards. I always say, protect your peace.
Yeah.
It's hard to have an attitude of a champion when you're allowing everything and everybody to come in and steal and rob you of your peace. You cannot have a good attitude if you're allowing all those things to come in and just totally steal your mental peace. So those things I did, I said, okay, I'm gonna plan, I'm gonna pivot. I am not going to allow certain people, places, things to steal my joy, steal my peace, and I'm going to focus on the cans rather than the can'ts. There's a ton of things we can do during this. Think about this, Mike. This very podcast. Think about how much has exploded as a result of a pandemic.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. If you were to focus on all the things you couldn't do, why wouldn't we have this conversation right now?
Right.
So to your listeners that are listening, it's not ignoring the obvious. It's not ignoring the obvious. But what about if you focus on the things you could do instead of what you couldn't do?
That is amazing. Well, thank you for that. So are you a list guy then?
Even with the list and everything I share, Mike, I need it more than anybody else. You know, sometimes I think people think that folks that do what we do, we ought to have it all together. I don't. I talk about these things because I need reminders for myself every day. So when I create my list every Sunday night, and if I fail to do it on Sunday, I'll do it Monday morning. I call it my review preview list. I review the past week. It's just like back in the football days. You reviewed the game tape from last week. Well, last week is your game tape. And I have a key areas in my life that I go back and look at. There's some Sundays I'm going, good Lord. I did not handle that week very well. And then I preview the week coming up. I knew this podcast. We had this, hence the email this morning. I know what I have. So I'm reviewing the past week and I'm previewing the upcoming week. And I'm constantly gauging, was today better than yesterday? I'm constantly asking myself that. Did I perform better today than I did yesterday? And there's days to where I do, and there's days where I stink it up.
Right.
But you can't measure what you're not aware of. So I always try to keep aware of what's going on in my life in those key areas.
You know, for people, especially people that are goal setting, there is a real fine line between vulnerability and perceived narcissism based on who your audience is. When a lot of times, like you look at somebody on your Facebook friends list, you know, they're posting pictures of themselves at the gym and, you know, people are going to be giving them a hard time and say, oh, here's another gym selfie. And it's like, when they don't realize, like, it's not that they're trying to post a gym selfie or feed some sense of narcissism. They might just be trying to hold themselves accountable and putting something out there. So they have to look back at that a week from now and say, hey, I did it last week. So why am I not doing it this week?
Mike, that is a great point, bro. I can't stress. I mean, that's golden right there. Many times the picture is not even about them. It's about hold themselves accountability.
Absolutely.
And hold themselves to it. And then, now you notice this too, some of the folks will egg them on. If they fail to post some, oh, so you're not going to the gym anymore, right? You know, I don't see any pictures like that.
Yeah, it's a can't win proposition. It's a can't win proposition. And that's why, you know, I usually don't encourage people to have tunnel vision unless they're working on self-improvement. Because if somebody is given the opportunity to derail you, they are going to take advantage of that, whether they have malicious intent or not, you know? And sometimes it's just to fill their own voids, you know, if you
absolutely will. And you know what, Mike, I'm going to say this to your listeners, man. Those of you that have made some goals for 2021 and some resolutions and some habits you want to change, maybe right now is when this comes out, but today we got the 18th, the night we're recording this, and maybe you'll hear this in a few days or a week, whatever it may be. Get back up. If you've fallen off the horse, join the dadgum crew. Everybody here's fallen down.
Right.
Every one of you listen has fallen down before. Just get back up, dust yourself off, and you get back and start again. I always say that, start again. There are actual industries, Mike, I mean, you both know this, that bet on our listeners and you and I to fail.
Oh, absolutely.
Many times gyms will sign up way more people they have the capacity to even handle. But they know they are betting on us to say after about 3 weeks, yeah, I'll get started on this next year or next month or this summer, this spring. If you've fallen down, just get back up. Just get back up.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the silver linings of 2020 is that every day is New Year's Day. Like, you know, every day.
I love it.
You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So you can press that reset button as many times as you want. There's no setting yourself back unless you've just got a bad attitude. Look at that. I made that.
There we go.
Circle.
I'm going to tag you on that saying, man. Every day is New Year's Day. Because Mike, what you just said is so profound, dude, and so true. Because we just don't, I mean, it's such a fluid situation right now.
Right.
I mean, you nailed it, man. You nailed it.
Yeah. Yeah. So what are your goals for 2021?
You know, one of the ones that I'll kind of share one that business-wise, I know as a speaker professionally, I am not going to be traveling on the airplanes to any major conferences in the foreseeable future. I mean, I'm hearing from the industry insiders, obviously, it's such a fluid situation and some of their components and factors, you know, the vaccine, more surges, et cetera, things we have no control over. So my goal for this year, business-wise, was to have an amazing virtual setup in my home office. I got a sign that's coming. I use some other studios as well quite a bit, but I wanted to make sure I had all the tools, and I wanted to do at least, which I'm pretty close to being on track for it, at least 140 or more is what I said, virtual presentations. Now, for me to do 140 in-person talks would be insane. Now, there's a lot of people who do that. I want no parts of doing 140 talks a year across the country. Because long story short, you're traveling either the day before, the day after of all those, so you're gone all the time.
Right.
But the beauty of virtuals and Zooms, I'm sitting right here at my house, man. Right. Or I'm sitting in my office downtown. So I can do, but I want to do 140. And it's not just because of the number. Mike, there are so many people that are hurting right now. Our suicide rates are up. We have people who were didn't drink that are drinking now. We are introduced alcoholics back to becoming alcoholics again because of it. Substance abuse, child abuse, domestic abuse. The mental health of people is just exploding right now in all the wrong areas. I mean, people are tired of being locked up, shelter in place, the fear, and all those things are real things, regardless of what side of the spectrum you fall on. I never talk about those things, as you know, my content. I don't get into those things.
Yeah, me neither.
My main thing is their mental health. So if I can do minimum of 140 talks, I want to help people, man, through this process as much as you can. I want to give people hope.
Yeah.
That's why I post about things that deal with attitude, things that are uplifting. I'd stay away from the negative stuff, man. Right. You know, it's like taking a teaspoon of water to the ocean and think you're going to make an impact. There's plenty of noise going on for negativity right now, maliciousness. I want to spread as much as hope as I can and doing at least 140 virtual talks this year. And man, we've been well on our way, which is good because people are hurting, bro. So professionally, I want to do that. Help as many as I can with that. Physically, I set a crazy goal out there, man. I want to get my body fat down to 15% or under.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's ambitious, especially our age, man.
Yes, I'll be 47 next month, man. So, this is, again, accountability, Mike. You can ask me in a couple months. I just did my body fat today, and a few different ways you can do it. And it's 20.9 right now. So basically 21. If you look at 20.9, it's basically 21. So there's some things I'll have to change up my diet. But Mike, I didn't want to do anything that I know I couldn't sustain either. Right. For me to say I'm going to get it at 5% and keep it there, that ain't happening, bro. I like ribs. I like fried fish. I want to still live,
right.
Enjoy life. But, just something I want to do. I just want to see if I can get it at 15% and keep it there for a while. That's one of my goals physically.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm about the same spot. I think mine was like 21.9. I did one of those in bodies not too long ago, and I'm like, man, I got to get it back down into the teens. It's just the 40s, man. It's what it is. It's what it is. And
it's something for us to do, man. It's just something to challenge ourselves with,
right? Absolutely. But I love what you're saying about your virtual conferences and such too, because the whole every industry is changing probably permanently. There's probably a lot of tech jobs that People will never go back to the job place.
Right.
People are going to be working from home probably permanently. This is going to be a new normal.
Absolutely.
So I think, and I don't mean this to sound callous, but I think people are going to have to force themselves to adapt to some degree, and then figure out other ways, like creative ways and other goals and personal goals to kind of get themselves out of those holes, if I'm making sense.
Absolutely. Making perfect sense.
Man, that's awesome. That's awesome.
I would say this as far as just the family we were talking. COVID, Michael, as you know, and to a lot of your listeners, it took a lot from us.
Right.
It took a lot from us, and unfortunately, it took life from some businesses, jobs, health, etc. But my mom would always say, "There's always a message in the mess." There's always a message in the mess. Last year from April until, even up now, we have had more family dinners than we've had in the past 8 years because of the kids in college, etc. I've played more rounds of golf with my sons and spent more time with us together as a family than I have since they've been gone, as adults. And it's been a blessing, man. It really has. So COVID has taken a lot, but I would encourage your listeners to also find the messages in this mess. So one of the personal goals is for us, this new normal, for us not to lose sight, but to keep those family dinners going.
Yes,
sir. To keep that time going together, we continue to grow as a family. So I definitely want us, and we've been doing a pretty good job at doing that. So that's one of the personal things. We keep those family dinners going.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I love that you said that. Like that is the antithesis of almost every episode of my podcast is like, how do you find the silver lining coming off of COVID-19 and a year like 2020? Because a lot of people don't want to talk about it, but
find the messages. Find the messages.
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. So what are three things that a person can do in the next week to change their mindset and attitude?
First thing is this. I would say this. You got to establish a routine. If you don't have a routine right now, you got to establish one. Even if let's say you have a routine, but it's not being conducive to the results and to the outcomes you want, well, tinker with it. Tinker that routine. Maybe it's going to bed earlier. Maybe it's getting up earlier. And for some of you, maybe it's sleeping a little bit more. You're not getting them out of sleep. So establish a routine. When COVID hit and the gym shut down, I had a routine called 5:35. I work out at 5 o'clock in the morning, because we had it at 5, and I'd work again at 5:30 in the evening. Now people say, you're crazy for working out twice. No, it kept me from going crazy because I'm just on this laptop all day long. Mike, I know you get that. Many of your listeners that are now working from home, that are also working from home and also having to teach their son or daughter who's working remote, who's at school remotely too. So you're in front of a screen. So I want to say establish a routine. So that's one of the key things. Second thing is this: win your morning. Win your morning. Folks, I've always believed if you can win your morning, you got a better chance of winning your afternoon. If you can win your afternoon, you got a better chance of winning your day. Well, how do you win your morning? The first 15 to 30 minutes of the day for me, folks, I'm listening to music. I'm listening, as we were talking about, I'm listening to some podcasts. I'm listening to something inspirational. In my closet this morning, I was getting dressed to go to the gym, man. I had Michael Jackson playing, the Jackson 5. How are you going to get pissed off listening to the Jackson 5? But if you wake up in the morning and the first thing you're listening to, and I'm just saying, this is just for me. I'm not saying it's for everybody, but I'm saying for me, man, about 5 years ago, I made that switch. I don't watch the news first thing in the morning because I didn't want to find out who got murdered, where was a flood, where was a fire, what party's fighting, what party right now, who else died. And then they say, now go have a great day. Yeah. I mean, I was depressed, angry, and sad 10 minutes after I got up. So you got to be able to control what you listen to, how you start your day. So establish a routine. Win your morning. That's one of the key things. And third thing is this, folks, and I think this is one of the most important things. Focus on the things you can do rather than what you can't do. I can't say that enough. Focus on the cans, not the can'ts. Focus on the cans, not the can'ts. And I want to say this, though, kind of a fourth thing, an activity I want you to think about at night. Okay. And my wife gave me this idea a few years ago, and it's called the 4 G's. At the end of your day, I want you to ask yourself real simple, what was good today? What went good? Second thing is this, second G is this, what was a glitch? See, it's not ignoring something bad have happened. What's the glitch? So what was good? What's the glitch? Here's the third G. What were you grateful for? What was something that happened today that you're grateful for? Fourth thing is this. What's one goal for tomorrow? Good, glitch, grateful, and goal. You do those things, it helps you get a tad bit closer to where you want to go. And you just keep getting back up. So the good, the glitch, grateful, and goal. And just keep rolling.
Man. Man. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Hey, it's been a pleasure having you on the podcast today. Is there anything else you want to close out with before we stop recording?
You know what, Michael, I always say at the end of every talk, it's your attitude, it's your choice. It's your attitude, it's your choice. Always relish that choice. Choose.
Oh, man, that's awesome. Thank you very much, Aaron.
Man, loved it, brother. Loved it, man.
I felt like I could run through a wall after that conversation. That was amazing. You can find Aaron Davis on Facebook by searching out Aaron Davis Presentations or by going to www.aarondavis.co. Forging that friendship was amazing, and I look forward to many more conversations down the line. Hey, I want to give you another friendly reminder to go to your favorite podcast app, give us a 5-star review, leave a few comments in the review section. That way we're pushed to the top of the search queue. Also, I'm looking for your help to grow my social media. Drop me a line, caughtonthemic@gmail.com, or simply just share a status on Facebook, comment on the Instagram feed, or just share this podcast with a good friend. This has been Caught on the Mic with Michael Clark. Hey, I'm Michael Clark. Until next time, thank you. Have a good start to the year, everybody.